And I was actually very shocked and certainly extremely disappointed with this ruling by our Supreme Court. Essentially, what the Supreme Court has now vested as part of Wisconsin is that the legislature is above the law. If the Supreme Court will not enforce this open meetings law, where the legislature specifically invited them to have recourse for the Attorney General and the DA, in passing this law, it said, enforce it, hold us accountable. And if they will not enforce that, then they will not enforce any law. So Wisconsin's tradition of open government took a huge step backwards today. And that is so disappointing given the tradition that we have in this state. Obviously, the next step is we have to pass a constitutional amendment. That is obviously the only way that the Supreme Court will ensure that the legislature is not above the law. There's no question that the open meetings law was violated. The law is very clear in that regard. There was no finding of facts to the contrary. But clearly, unless there's a constitutional principle, this Supreme Court, by a 4-3 majority, has stated they will not enforce a law and the legislature is free to ignore any law in the books. That's not what this state was meant to be. That certainly isn't what the intent of the legislature was. And one justice went so far as to say that the statement of intent by the legislature is mere rhetoric. I don't know if domestic abuse laws is mere rhetoric or other laws in the book is mere rhetoric, but it is so unfortunate that there is not a decision by this court where clearly the legislature invited them to hold us accountable, that they refused to do so. And I just want to say that I wanted to particularly agree with Chief Justice Shirley Abramson in her point. She said, by this interpretation, the constitutional right of the people to know what the legislature is doing has been significantly minimized, if not eliminated. Isn't that a sad commentary and a real indictment of open meetings and the openness and Wisconsin tradition of open government?